Hello and welcome to NoCB, a grand strategy podcast. I am your host, TJ Hafer, and with me are our amazing panelists, including Lambert.
Hello there.
Including Father Loris.
What's up?
And our special guest this week, the game director for Imperator Rome. You may know him as Peter, or you may know him as Arheo, depending on how much time you spend on the forums.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on here. We're always excited to talk to the devs, and we'll definitely be getting into some nitty gritty of Imperator later. But as per usual, we're going to run through the week's dev diaries first. Starting
first,
with,
can we give like a huge, big congratulations to Rose?
Oh yeah,
becoming a mother.
Rose
fantastic.
is officially a mother as of last week. So
Pretty fantastic. Fair play.
Yeah, very, very excited and happy for her. Wishing the best to her whole clan. And she's in chat too, if you want to say hi.
I mean, the succession is safe. The heir is born.
Yes.
Everything's now fine.
Yeah,
just don't get another and have
sleeping.
Gavelkind. That's the trick.
Right. Yeah. So the partition inheritance is just
It's rough.
of a pain in the ass. Yeah. So our first dev diary for the week, as usual, we'll start with Crusader Kings 3, which is probably the sexiest dev diary for Crusader Kings 3 so far.
Lots and lots of lovely pictures.
Yeah, we got a pretty close-up look at the map, which, who would actually be here listening to this show if you don't love maps? That's my question to you. I think that's one thing we can all agree on is maps good. So we got an update in chat that little Rosebud is asleep in his carrier. For those of you who are wanting an update on that. I also love plebeian in chat is like, Rose has a baby. Father Loris, fair play.
Like, that's the Welsh response to anything. You can do anything from like get married to something terrible could have happened. It's just fair play. Fair play.
Yeah. Also, I forgot
to hit
Rose.
Start on Caption Bot. So. Well played on the whole birth thing.
Caption Bot is now up. I forgot to hit go on Caption Bot when we started, but I'm now the caption captain. So Lambert will be hosting the stream, but we figured out I can still do the captions, and then we don't have to set it up on two different machines. So they gave us a look at, I think this is kind of the northern Baltic area in the screenshot.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Novgorod there.
Yeah. It's the Russian river system.
Of course, there. Very nice.
For those of us who like to play Vikings, we're just mostly interested in which rivers are going to be navigable, so that's good to see.
Some special buildings as well that they showed off in this dev diary. Notre Dame, which is, I mean, it feels really powerful. 20% extra taxes in your holding, plus 2 taxes a month. I mean, that's quite a lot.
That's really good. Did they say if there's like a specific year that it has to be to build it? Because I know
I didn't see anything for that.
Because I know that there were some weird issues just as a medieval history nerd in Crusader Kings. Like the Abbey of Cluny existed in France before it was actually supposed to. There were a couple monasteries that are like, the founding of this monastery was a big deal, but it just is kind of there in 1066 or whatever. So it'd be. I love that Google is telling me when I look up Notre Dame currently closed. That's exactly the information I wanted. 1163.
Why of the many reasons is Notre Dame closed at the moment?
Hopefully,
they've got a few good excuses.
It's not. The reason it was closed last year. So,
poor Notre Dame. Like, it burns down, and then the next year, plague hits it. Next year, there's going to be a meteorite landing in the center of Paris, though.
I thought it was going to be frogs, but I mean, they're already there, aren't they? They've been there a while.
It's true. It's true.
So, also the river, very nice.
Yeah,
definitely going to be sailing down there.
Yeah, get your Rollo on.
I think I'll be playing quite a bit in kind of the former Carolingian Empire, just because if you want like peak Crusader Kings, you've kind of got to do like feudal, like central feudal Europe. I feel like is sort of like peak Crusader Kings, at least in CK2.
Yeah. I think you're right there.
Yeah, that's always a fun region to play in. Southern France, Provence looks really cool. We got some impassable Alps. And then Spain, which also has quite a few more impassable mountain ranges, which is part of why the north of Spain was able to resist the Umayyad conquest. So
it's really interesting because, because Spain is a lot more geographically divided now. There's a lot more choke points and some more natural.
There's a lot more interest in the map. Choke points and mountain ranges and stuff. They're interesting.
Yeah,
I mean they're void of any countries and flavor, but at the same time they add so much.
Well, I mean,
it's strange.
I think that's plainly one of the reasons that I like Imperator, somewhat better than the older Paradox games, is just because of the additional kind of tactical variety that's added by those impassable, kind of choke points and things like that. So I'm glad CK3
anyone who's ever tried to fight in southern Anatolia going into Syria, I mean, those Cilician gates, they're called gates for a reason.
Well, and even like
pain to go through.
The Peloponnese in Imperator is just such a, like, you can totally see why it was such a tactical challenge historically, because it's so tactically like complicated, when you zoom in that far. We got the Alhambra, which starts out as ruins, which gives you a little bit of a bonus, but then you can repair it. And get much bigger bonuses. Yeah,
I didn't know it was built upon Roman ruins at all. Actually,
yeah.
I thought about that for a little while too, because you're building upon Roman ruins, which probably feels a little bit like you're destroying a bit of architecture. But now Alhambra's old enough to be its own bit of history too.
When I think the Tor de Tani or someone had a fort there before the Romans. Like, that specific spot has been fortified for a very, very, very long time, because it's a good place.
Clearly we need to build a new fort on it, put like a US air base on the top of like Alhambra or something.
Yeah, that's coming. That's going to be in the next 5 years. Yeah.
Well, no. Clearly, what we need to do is set up a petition to tear down Alhambra so that we can get those Roman ruins back again, and then maybe about a decade after having the Roman ruins be visible, then we take another petition and tear those down to get to the Turdetani ruins, and then probably whoever predated them.
Whatever.
Afterwards.
Yeah, pre-Indo-European civilization was there at that point.
Just for geographical features,
we
some
have
geologists going
walls as well.
They built these Roman ruins all over my beautiful rocks.
The interesting thing about the Theodosian walls is that +5 is not... It's really good. It's not insanely good, but then what is insanely good about it is it increases your garrison size by 1,000. So it's actually going to require a significantly large army to even start sieging Constantinople.
Well, no, and it also doubles it on top of it.
Plus 1,000, but then it also gives plus 100%. So if this 100% applies to the 1,000, that's just a base of 2,000 straight away. Then you add in all of your other things. It's huge. It's going to be good. Although I will say, +5 fort level sounds kind of meager when you consider that we get +8 from Alhambra.
Right, which, it's an interesting way to differentiate between the two. Is like, one of them is just, these walls are really tough. The other one is like, these walls are really tough, and also they increase the defensibility of your troops, by a significant amount. Plus 50 hostile raid time is going to be really good too, yeah.
Some like Byzantine boo, like really raging at that. It's like, no, the Theodosian walls are way better than Alhambra's. Like, you know, something like that.
1453 was an inside job. Ottoman cannonballs cannot melt Theodosian concrete walls. I mean, it was just reinforcement.
Well, I'm sure Peter can confirm for us that, of course, all of these numbers are 100% final.
And 100% historically accurate.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, Hagia Sophia, 20% development growth, +2 learning for your entire realm, which I'm wondering if is that every ruler in your realm? Because that would be pretty crazy. So Constantinople.
Before we move off the Hagia Sophia, these tooltips, man, that's rough. So it will remain for all eternity, for surely nothing could ever topple the might of Rome.
Yeah, we're getting trolled by tooltips.
I mean, everyone knows that Rome fell in 1453, but like they're just gonna say this in tooltip.
Based on my Twitter poll, roughly 60 or 56% of people realize that Rome fell in 1453. So it is a majority.
Yeah, because I mean, the majority is always right. We live in a
I
democracy.
just hope you can build minarets of that motherfucker. That's what I want. Like, that was the nicest thing about like the original Hagia Sophia model. You conquer it and slap those minarets on that beast.
I suppose if you conquer it as the Seljuks, then perhaps that might be something they could do.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, for sure.
Just lots and lots of really nice looking maps. Also a culture map that we've got here with Cisalpine culture, which I don't think I've ever heard it being called that before. Like, this area would be more Lombard, would it not?
I imagine the Lombards will still exist, but maybe this is more like the weird blending of like Roman, Gaulish, and German influences that exist in like the Alpine region and like Switzerland and stuff. I don't know. Like I would imagine Lombard must still exist as a culture, but I don't know why they split this one off specifically.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there's got to be something more to it, because that's a really big culture group.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I thought like the cultures would be a bit more granular than that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting question.
The Seljuks having probably the worst map color I've ever seen.
It's the Seljuk Turks.
I mean, just when I read this dev diary the first time, I was really tired. This image woke me right the hell up.
It is. It's like movie theater candy green is how I would describe that color. Like the green Sour Patch Kids after you've eaten it and then vomited it back up. That's kind of what their map color looks like. And then the Baghdad House of Wisdom, which might be the most powerful building I've seen so far in terms of
it also teases cultural fascination, which we haven't yet found out what that is.
Yeah,
that is correct. We have not. I think my theory is that this building is going to be really powerful, though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, different.
Also, another
is pretty big already.
Those of you who are listening to this the day that it comes out will already know.
Yeah.
Another biting tooltip here as well. A shining beacon of human knowledge and comfortably far from the illiterate horsemen of the steppe.
Oh no.
For now, yeah.
Once again, we're being
I'm sure
trolled.
there's a ton of those kind of things littered all throughout it. We have Baghdad there, which is, looking very rivery. It's interesting that they only added the... that's the Euphrates, isn't it? The Tigris is the southern one.
Oh yeah, only one of them is navigable.
Right.
I didn't realize that until you mentioned it. Of course, this doesn't go all the way down to the Gulf, so maybe the Tigris is navigable up to a certain point.
Maybe.
I do love those floodplains, how they look.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Which we saw in last week's Dev Diary. I think the floodplains are going to be almost as powerful as farmlands, so this region it'll be possible to have it be as rich as it was historically. So, yeah.
I say there's just so many really lovely maps in here.
Oh yeah. I think this is going to be a fun map to interact with for sure. Oh yeah, and then I think we've seen this at least in some form before. Yeah. The balkanization of Western Africa and all the new pagan faiths.
Yeah, all the way up to Nigeria too.
And Benin gets its own special building as well, the Walls of Benin, +2 fort level.
Which, for that area of the world, is probably really strong, because they don't have the siege tech that you're going to find further north. So, yeah.
Is the Library of Timbuktu in this time period, or is that later on?
I don't know, actually. Timbuktu.
I have no idea, honestly.
Library of Timbuktu. Google cannot give me an answer right away, so I'm giving up. I would imagine. I mean, the height of Timbuktu, I think, was during the CK2 time period. So
yeah,
I imagine so.
That was when old Mansa Musa went on his Hajj and basically bankrupt, caused so much inflation.
Right. Which I think the Mali Empire included Timbuktu at that point, I want to say. But I'm really sketchy on West African history, so I take all of this with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Lovely little bit of Egypt as well, with the same floodplain going on as well.
Yeah,
right.
Really quite nice. So while they don't actually show the pyramids in this screenshot, it was said in one of the comments that not all of the models are implemented in the build yet, so we may possibly still be getting getting the pyramids. I would imagine we probably will be.
Yeah,
well, you can scroll down.
I don't know much about modeling, but I think a pyramid is quite easy to model. I'm not quite sure about that, but I assume it is.
Yeah, by design, theoretically, it should be. The pyramids, they're okay. I mean, if you think about the fact that they were abandoned for thousands of years by this time, the fact that they aren't like the most powerful thing in the world kind of makes sense. But renown, that's your dynasty, so that's nothing to sniff at. Like, a bonus to monthly renown that is going to follow you through the entire game could be pretty good.
Yeah,
and short range duration, -20% is really handy as well. That was always something that was a bit sketchy every time you got a new ruler. Big negative points to everyone's opinion of you. It's like,
All the while the council's also discontent too.
I've known you my entire life. We grew up together, but you hate me now just because I, put a crown on my head. Screw you too.
Yeah.
And we have also the Far East, which is incredibly colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my main problems with the 769 start date in CK2 is that this whole area is just the Tibetan Empire. It's kind of the same issue that you run into, although this has gotten a lot better in the most recent patch with Imperator, where India is like kind of a monopolar region of the world. But yeah, I think this is 1066, so Tibet is pretty heavily balkanized. We've got all these little states. We've got my favorite.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can't forget it's not the best country in this dev diary though. Not by a long shot. There is one that, one could say it shits all over you. But we'll get to it because it's a little bit further down the page. A little bit of the, I assume that's the religion?
Yeah. I really like this. So, really delving into the different types of Eastern religions.
They've got Nonchos, which is we haven't seen in a Paradox game before, which is specifically Tibetan Buddhism.
Very cheeky.
Like it's its own branch now. So
and I would have thought they would just slap it in with Theravada or whatever.
Usually, I mean that's what EU4 does, but
it's cool.
They do have their own brand of Buddhism. So, and then even there's 2 different bone faiths, which is like a lot of people didn't know what that religion was before CK2 added it, and now it's got multiple
my knowledge,
branches.
People in real life don't really know much about bone because there's not much written about.
There's still debate as to whether it was a real thing back then. I think.
Really?
Yeah, that's my understanding too.
Was it like what's the?
I have no idea.
what's the competing theory that it was just something that the Buddhists made up as a boogeyman or what?
Something along those lines, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I know there's a lot of like obscure lore about them being like very brutal and stuff, but that's usually how people who didn't write anything down that get conquered end up being portrayed later on. So,
it could be like ancestor worship. Sort of like maybe not like a codified thing,
right? Yeah, I mean, pretty much everywhere had some kind of folk practice that we might not even think of in terms of religion, but yeah,
exactly.
This looks like the Tibetan plateau there. You can see Lhasa.
When the mountains are so everywhere, it does make it quite difficult to read some of these. Like this one here. This one here, Nag something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of getting eaten by a river valley or something.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to scroll out and see it on the cloth map at least.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Excuse me.
And we have a bit of Mongolia as well.
Yeah, all the way to what's it called, Lake Baikal.
Yeah,
and the best nation in the game. It is, of course, shitty.
I didn't even see that.
With 2 eyes.
Amazing.
But also the Great Liao, who are very interesting in how they interacted with the Chinese world. But I think we'll probably have to wait for DLC for that.
I feel like we probably will get China in a DLC.
Oh, yeah.
We also have down the Myanmar area as well.
Right, the Pagan Kingdom. We've got the Mon, who also were heavily involved with the people to their east, the Khmer, which makes me think that we're probably going to get Southeast Asia at some point too. Like if they've gone this far.
I think we also have a Sentinel Islands, I assume, right? Like I think that's in the game now. Which obviously is the most important thing.
That would be funny if it was actually a distinct county. Yeah.
That would be great. We also have this as well, which I'm sure some people have seen.
That's how I would guess that's
yeah. No, I understand Peter probably doesn't want to talk about this. Because it's not official.
Well, also it's official, not even his team.
It's nice. It's very
cool.
And
you don't know.
We're going to leave it at that.
You don't know what they're even doing over there, do you?
I dread to think.
All right.
So there was a leak onto the Microsoft store of the map,
right?
Which is a huge global map. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you've got everything you want. You got it's thematic, right? It's like torn off at the sides. You've got your lobsters in the sea. You got your boats in the sea. You got your wyverns. Everything you want.
Norway is red, as Meneth promised us.
That's right. Yeah. Although it does look slightly purple to me.
is a little. It's a little bit blue. There's a little bit of blue in there, but there's also blue in the Norwegian flag, so that's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like it's made on vellum too, which
yes,
that makes a really, really nice touch.
Number one vellum stan over here.
This is an official pro vellum podcast.
Oh yeah, I don't want anybody who's not pro vellum on this podcast.
Yeah, any anti-vellumites in chat there, you're getting a ban.
Exactly. Our religious
pro paper losers.
Yeah,
I will say, I love the map. It's fantastic. The fact that it's torn in the east just makes me think, no, you're gonna find the other piece of that map, aren't you?
Listen,
it's coming, right?
I don't know anything officially that's not public, but I'm like 99% sure they're going to add China to this game eventually.
Yeah, they're going to do it. Rajas of India, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 99% sure. Like, that's why Barons are like reduced in scope, I think, is to reduce the CPU load so that they can add China. That's my theory.
I would hope, because I do love Chinese history.
Yeah, we'll see. But it seems like a natural fit to me. And the CK2 time period includes the two best Chinese dynasties, the Tang and the Song. And so.
Oh man, they had style, especially the Song dynasty, man.
It
was the most stylish dynasty for sure.
They weren't very nice to women's feet, but other than that, they were a pretty cool dynasty.
Yeah.
They started
speaking
the whole foot binding thing.
Speaking of really cool maps, we have another map game to talk about. Awkwardest segue ever, but
it's an okay segue.
We have a dev diary for EU4.
Yeah, you're getting there. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have the finesse that Rose has with these segues. I tried. Okay, you were talking about feet, and you were talking about. China
feet,
and
goose
neither
step,
of those things are in this dev
Germany.
diary.
There we go. I just did it. Yeah. So
God.
The German mission tree, which seems this is for EU4 Emperor, by the way, if you're listening to the audio version and super confused, but specifically a late game mission tree, which I don't know if we've seen a mission tree before now that was so geared towards like, it's already going to be at least like 1650 by the time you get here, so we're not going to waste your time with a bunch of stuff you've already done. Like it seems like it almost is like naturally set up to be like where the Prussian tree ends, the German tree picks up, or the Bohemia or whoever else you want to use to form Germany or
Hussite Bohemia.
Yeah, the fact that invade France and invade Italy and invade Poland are like your first three things, basically.
That's very German.
The fourth is also invade the Low Countries.
Yeah,
it's like if you want to progress anywhere during in this German tree, go and annex things. Because well, and I'm not even going to go into more of that.
Well, I think they mentioned it's heavily inspired by the Kaiserreich of the 1800s, because even though that didn't exist in the EU4 time period, if you form Germany in the EU4 time period, which also didn't happen, like these are kind of your logical next steps. So,
well, I guess it's not actually locked behind it because, this is at the top of the tree. You don't actually have to take this before you can do these three, or Imperial Navy, or establish this chancellorship.
Right.
So you don't have to annex Poland, but it's pretty good clay. And why not?
Yeah.
I like how it's a picture of Overseas Empire. I'm pretty sure that is Tsingtao, that little peninsula. So
it
maybe
is.
You get a CB to catch it. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So I guess, moving into China will probably be part of that mission.
I like the idea of having a focus to get a single province in China out.
I also like how the image for Cross the Revolution is it's a big Y as you yeet the French away from your monarchy.
I'm sure that's what they were thinking of for sure.
No, they're very forward thinking. Thinking
actually,
of 2020's memes.
Thinking about this overseas empire thing, if that's Tsingtao, do you think they'll add Tsingtao as like Macau, a very small single province?
That would make sense. Yeah,
I like
that would
granularity,
be cool, right?
For sure.
And I hope they do the same for like Hong Kong, because like that's always annoyed me that you can't seize Hong Kong in EU4, which is always something everyone wants to do.
That would make a lot of sense, I think. The other mission tree I think we got to see is Lubeck, who... Oh, wait, this is... Before that, what is... Is that the HRE tree that we just scrolled past?
I think it is the HRE tree.
So is that the United HRE? Germany and Holy Roman Empire share a large portion of their mission trees, but each of them have a unique branch available only to them. Okay, so this is what replaces the Chancellorship Consort of Europe. I'm assuming.
So you've got Holy State, Roman Resolution, and Centralized Empire.
Which is the crown of Charlemagne, I believe. So, yeah.
Which you can view in Vienna if you're curious. Like if you're thinking of taking a holiday sometime soon, that's a good idea.
Yeah. If you ever are allowed to leave your home country again, go check out the crown of Charlemagne.
It's a beautiful museum in general too. It's
we did just. I don't know if you'll want to answer this because of your coworkers might be upset, but someone in chat is asking, what is Arheo's favorite PDX game aside from Imperator?
Battle for Gettysburg.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
That's
no, I'm lying. I do like EU4. Answer. I worked on EU4 before I started on Imperator, so I've got a soft spot for that.
Do you know who you're going to be playing first when Emperor goes live?
What makes you think I haven't already started?
Well, I assume you've already played a ton of it, but like, do you have a playthrough planned for the final version that you've been looking forward to? Or
I've got to say, Lubeck looks very interesting. That's my kind of play style.
Well, what a great transition! What a great transition! Because that was the other the other mission tree we got to see, I think.
The former Hanseatic League.
I mean, look at that. Hanseatic League. It's beautiful.
Those of us old grognards who remember when the Hansa was a starting country in 1444, and then they broke it up, and now you can put it right again and make it its own tag.
You could seize London, which is like, that's pretty cool.
Which is hilarious. I love the idea that there just are some Germans running London and they just put up a bunch of walls around it. Like, Great Britain still exists, but you're not allowed to come in. London is ours.
A bit of colonization here as well.
You can
not a whole lot of colonization for any of the Germans. So
Newfoundland.
You would imagine that if the Hanseatic League had stayed an entity that was kind of relevant for long enough, then they probably would have gone to the New World as well. So that makes sense
to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
New Hudson Bay Company is bad, like the Hanseatic Bay Company.
Yeah. Anything else interesting you guys saw about the EU4 diary before we move on?
It's just a good diary about
mission
trees.
Yeah.
Although
I really want to do a German campaign now.
I do find this personally offensive, seeing all of Scandinavia subjugated by upstart German merchants. Yeah.
It's all Germanic, including Finland. Very Germanic Finland is.
The colour of where I live is very much like this right now. I mean, getting snow in May is something that we and Stockholm are both experiencing.
Isn't the area around the Gulf
Second winter.
The area around the Gulf of Bothnia, isn't that where like most of the Swedish speakers in Finland live, kind of?
Yeah, I live in a Swedish-speaking region around like here.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. Okay.
So jag kan tala lite svenska. but that's it. But yeah, it was a relatively small diaries. And speaking of small no, it doesn't work at all. It's not a small diary. But actually, no. Before we go on to Stellaris, I think we should look at the video that was released for U4 today as well.
The trailer, because it's very good.
It is very good. So I'm going to play that for you now.
Excellent.
All right. They can't hear us while this is on. It might be a little bit loud, though. I'll just pop the volume down a bit.
They can still read the captions, though, so don't say anything too secret.
Hi, chat. You can't hear us.
Anything to match at Unicorn Heroes. Caption bot's having a really hard time today.
So, Arheo, do you want to reveal any secrets that you shouldn't be telling us? Because CaptionBot is totally not going to be catching it.
They're adding China to Imperator, you say?
We're adding Japan, but we're not adding China.
just Japan, yeah, no.
Even better.
The new DLC for Imperator, Sengoku 2.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and now they can hear us again.
See.
Seafood is
everything we said.
Groogy in chat says he loves the trailer, but I think he might be slightly biased.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's a really good trailer.
Groogy pops into chat and says, I hate this trailer. I can't stand it.
I think that's my favorite EU4 trailer so far.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It was really good. But yeah, if the Hansa had still been around for another 800 years, maybe they would have gone to space.
Yay, space. Yeah, patch notes for 2.7 Wells. And they're really, really chunky patch notes. Even for just a relatively small patch, I mean, there's quite a lot in here. Obviously, stability and performance, super, super important to get these because playing multiplayer with Stellaris is still a little bit of a slog with some of the out of syncs.
Yeah, there's a lot of out of syncs fixes which I really, really appreciate.
Yes. So yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, getting those fixes nice.
Excellent. Yeah. So joint operations sound really cool. Changes to habitats, since I just played a really long multiplayer game as Voidborn. I'm looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. And I will be doing
the edict change. I think that would be my favorite.
Yeah, I think it creates an incentive to play as an authoritarian empire for non-RP reasons, which I'm not sure really existed that much before. And I will be doing what the patch notes really mean on this patch, but it's probably going to be next week.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, there's a lot of patch notes to this one.
I've been very busy this week with something that those of you on the stream will find out about tomorrow, and those of you who are listening to this the day that it comes out on SoundCloud and stuff will already know about. So wink to those of you in the future who know what I'm talking about, even though my co-hosts do not.
TJ's launching an OnlyFans account.
I said I was going to do just me sitting in a hot tub reading Norse sagas. So
look, we've got to monetize this podcast somehow.
Yeah, got to pay those bills.
We're not doing a Patreon. We're going to do OnlyFans only.
So we won't probably go through all of these patch notes, but is there anything in particular, other than what we've mentioned, that you guys thought was especially cool?
Oh, mine's still just for out of sync.
Yeah, got to say the out of syncs are like the most important thing for me, but at the same time, like if we're talking about something flavorful that was added, then edicts and joint operations, being able to use your favors on something more than just I want to use a bit of your influence on passing this law that you're voting against.
Big change, by the way. That's going to fix favors a lot. You can only call in favors from empires that are not already voting with you on a resolution. So you can't just trade favors for favors with everybody who is voting for a certain resolution, and then you all call in each other's favors. You can't do that anymore.
That's interesting. I missed that.
Isn't that the way democracy's supposed to work?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, because I guess it's like, if an empire is already putting their diplomatic influence beyond, like, into a certain outcome, why would you be able to call in favors to make them put more of their weight behind that outcome?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When voting in the galactic community, favors no longer apply if you're both voting for the same side. Also, you can no longer call in favors from empires of voting for the same side.
Right. So they're slowly working on making, I guess I don't want to say slowly, it's actually pretty quickly that they're working on making favors less absolutely absurdly broken.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. I think that is probably the highlights for Stellaris. Go back and listen to the previous episodes where we discussed the individual dev diaries if you want to know more about.
Gotta say, I do actually have a favorite patch note here, and I know nothing about this.
Really?
I've got no inside information here because I've not played this build. But the idea of a home system for the Tianki and the Space Amoebas, I don't know what they look like.
Yes.
But if there's a Space Cow home system, I hope it's called the Cow Level.
Yes. Oh, that would be amazing. Like if you had to like how there's L-gate end sites, if you had to like research a certain number of, hidden caches to find the secret cow level. That would be amazing.
I think that's also something I really look forward to playing as is being a space whaler too for Tianki.
Yes.
It'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to murder them for those gases. It's going to be great.
Whalers on the moon, we carry a harpoon, but there were no
we
whales.
Also
we sing tall
have...
tales. Or no, wait. Tell tall tales and sing this merry tune. There we go.
Sorry, I have no idea what you were singing, so you had a little pause in the middle, and I thought you were done.
Whalers on the moon from the Futurama. Chat knows.
Yeah.
Chat
knows what I'm talking about.
I gotta admit, when I was a kid, my parents didn't let me watch Futurama because, I don't know, it was mean. I didn't watch.
I think that was actually the first ever episode of Futurama. Is that right, or maybe the second?
I watched that one, but I don't have a memory. So
it was one of the first few for sure. Yeah, because I rewatched that semi-regularly, like every few years or so. Second episode, Valorgain says, "Yeah, that sounds right."
All right. Well, before we jump into the next part of the podcast, there is also a Stellaris trailer that dropped today, which is was it today or yesterday? It's quarantine. All the days are the same. But anyway, go and enjoy this because it's great. All right, and again, they can't hear us. Oh, and again, I've had it far too loud.
Sweet, cool.
Yeah, I think this was. They said the guy who makes most of the trailers for Stellaris, or has made most of the recent trailers for Stellaris, this is his last one before he moves on to a new project. And man,
it's such a good trailer.
So good.
Well, if you need any badly drawn frame by frame animations, let me know.
This is like so much thumbnail art in here for me. Not gonna lie, it's great.
I think A-Spec's probably drooling.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I wasn't a massive fan of the music choice, but I guess that's just my musical taste is different. It works for the trailer. It's just not something I enjoy.
A little bit too, I don't know, kind of sappy. But
all right, and going back to ours then, in a second. Oh yeah, it's also showing the free weekend as well.
Right.
There we go. That was the trailer for the 4th anniversary of Stellaris. So happy birthday, Stellaris!
Free weekend if you're listening to this close to when it comes out, May 12th through the 17th.
We're talking about the music then, like while the trailer was on. I still think there should be a theremin music pack for Stellaris. That's what I really want.
All sci-fi
like a sort of
needs
1950s.
A theremin.
Yeah, 1950s like retro futuristic one. Really would like that.
So our main topic, since we do have Peter here, is going to be Imperator Rome this week. They just released a dev diary on changes that are coming to rebellions, which, Lambert, I believe you've already done a video on that as well.
Oh, yeah. They do great
over
reviews,
on your channel.
So.
Yeah.
So
I guess, well, the first question I want to ask you, Peter, before we get into the specifics of this dev diary, where you are now, how have the last few months of kind of taking over this project felt, and kind of what are you most proud of in terms of what you've been able to accomplish, and maybe what do you still want to try to accomplish?
Big questions.
Yeah,
I think so. To begin with, I've always felt that Imperator has a huge amount of potential. It always has. And I feel like we're actually starting to be able to sort of meet some of that potential a little bit. And I get the feeling that our fans are starting to think the same thing. I'm incredibly proud of what's coming in 1.5. That's sort of the big update for me. All the things we're doing to cultures and rebellions, as you say. Like this is the simulation that I wanted to make.
No, I definitely agree with you about the expectations thing. I mean,
yeah. So, and when you say simulation, what is it that you think was missing from Imperator at launch that you would consider to be like simulation content or systems that you're really pushing forward with?
So, I mean, if you look back at 1.0, it was a very static world. The pops didn't do anything unless you poked them. Characters generally didn't do much unless you poked them. You had to sort of take action and direct things. That's something that we tore out, I think, fairly early on in 1.1 and 1.2. And we added this pop simulation. We added character schemes, that sort of thing. The world actually has a purpose and it feels alive and it's doing things whether or not you poke it. You're just given this way of interacting with it, which I think feels a lot more interesting.
A lot more organic too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really, and that's something I think that the culture rework is going to help with.
Yeah, the 1.2 patch was like, I still would say it's the biggest overhaul change that Paradox has ever made to a game, at least while I've been a fan of Paradox games.
Yeah.
And for the pop specifically, it was just, it's night and day.
Absolutely.
I don't know, because there was that one patch that fixed the changes with the new launcher, and that was pretty huge. It was like a one-line patch. That's the joke I'm making.
I don't like the new launcher, so I'm not going to go with that one.
No. I was just trying to think of what the smallest patch ever was so that I could contrast, but so I mean, as I'm reading this specific dev diary and sort of the changes that are coming with rebellions, where it's not going to be like, okay, I have unrest in Egypt and also in Dacia, and then somehow they're going to send a pigeon or whatever so that they rise and revolt at the same time.
They were incredibly well organized.
Yeah, like they had some sort of secret message service going. That makes a lot of sense in terms of like simulation and in terms of like historical realism. I'm curious if it's going to make rebellions feel less dangerous, and if you guys have given a thought to how you're going to keep it from being all these like pathetic little whack-a-mole uprisings that don't really tax your resources that much.
I mean, this ties a lot into one of the other features that's coming in 1.5 that we haven't revealed everything we're going to do with that, but and that's the cultural acceptance feature. But I mean, each rebellion is going to appear provincially, so you will have these small rebellions, but they have the potential to snowball as you sort of mistreat entire cultures. Maybe you stop them from promoting to citizens, that sort of thing, or nobles. You're going to piss off an entire culture, and as your provinces sort of lose their loyalty, they will start to snowball.
Okay,
so it's is it possible for to get a rebellion that is starting out at more than just a single province, because it does seem like the way it's worded in the dev diary, at least, seems that way. I think that might be a little bit small sometimes.
I think it depends. It seems it's more about when they happen, I think, that's your problem. I mean, there are plenty of examples in history of doomed rebellions, and that was part of the goal of this thing. You didn't have rebellions that only rose up when they knew that they were going to have a chance of winning. They would either never know what their chances were, or they would do it for the sake of the cause. So, sure, sometimes rebellions might be pointless or seem pointless, but if they happen to you in the middle of a huge war with your neighboring great power, it's going to make a bigger difference, I think. And if you consistently mistreat the pops within your empire, then you're going to get rebellions that snowball at very inconvenient times.
Starkitect in chat is asking, can your own culture rebel? I'm curious too if Roman slaves could still rise up as a slave faction or something like that.
It's possible. I've not been able to make it happen, but I'm sure somebody on the forums will manage to treat their own culture so badly that they will rebel, yes.
Well, do we still have non-culture related revolts like the slave revolts that are in the game right now, or is that all
that is all still in the game. We're not touching that much this time, but they do still exist.
Starkitect says challenge accepted as far as making his own
Let me know how
culture
it goes.
I mean, it's just a case of getting all of the aggressive expansion.
Well, there's also the fact that the more we saw in the dev diary either last week or 2 weeks ago, that the more cultures you give citizenship to, it'll make all the existing ones unhappy. So maybe eventually everyone will just be mad, and just extend the franchise to everybody on the map, and then they'll all rebel.
Yeah, world conquest, then accept everyone. Your empire instantly implodes.
It would indeed implode.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I think it's kind of an interesting design challenge from my perspective as a player. That, like you said, doomed rebellions are a factor of history. But unless there's another extenuating circumstance go on, they can sometimes feel kind of one-sided and kind of like, okay, this is just busy work that I have to deal with. I do think one way that Imperator does that better than some of the other Paradox games is that the travel distances involved can get to be an issue. Like if I have, if I'm in Greece, if I'm in northern Macedonia, and then there's a rebellion in Egypt, like Upper Egypt, I might not be able to get armies there fast enough before they've caused a lot of damage.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fascinating choice-making experiment, really. Do you risk losing the war that you're currently engaged in to go and stop this rebellion from growing out of control, which it can do now?
Or I guess rebellions kicking off at the same sort of time. You have Gauls kicking off at the same time as, the Hebrews kicking off at the same
exactly,
time.
And it's all related to how you're treating those people individually, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fair to say you're not playing Rome correctly unless you're treating the Hebrews and Gauls like crap. I mean, that's...
Look,
something's going wrong in your Roman campaign there.
Caesar didn't treat them like crap. He brought them into the Senate. Sure,
it may have been a good way
to tell the Senate that they were kind of irrelevant, but
It's always a great concession for genocide when you allow some of the survivors to have a voice in the legislature. I like that a lot.
I like the idea of introducing so many Gauls to the Senate that the Romans start to get very angry about.
Yeah,
they got angry. Yeah, I think
they did.
Maybe their reaction to it was a little bit excessive. I mean, it's lots of knives involved, but maybe it was exactly what was meant to happen.
No, you can't have knives that close to the Senate chamber. It was usually a stylus or some other improvised weapon.
Don't bring weapons inside the pomerium. We should know this by now.
But sharp objects that are not explicitly a weapon, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of a Roman Senate having a sort of metal detector that you have to go through. You have to put your knives in a little plastic tray before you go in.
Yeah. The Praetorian Guard are just doing pat downs, arms out to the side.
Yeah. They got a full body scanner there. It all works.
Will rebellions be able to make alliances with third parties?
There's no particular reason why not, other than the fact that they will usually be at war. But we may have some interesting things coming there, which you'll find out about on Monday.
Cool.
I was more thinking of my rival has just had a rebellion. Maybe I'll just go and ally his rebels. Maybe they'll want some aid.
Yeah, you can do that. There's nothing stopping you.
Sweet.
Oh, I like that. I like the sound of that a lot.
For sure. So, one thing I would love to get confirmation of as well. Can you confirm that Phrygia is dead and we're going to get something called Antigonea or Antigonid Empire? Because I know we see it called Phrygia in this screenshot, but in last week's Dev Diary, there was no P, there was an A.
Yes. I mean, I have a particular fondness for unusual date format.
Oh, yes, I know.
Perhaps I have a similar fondness for spelling Phrygia in different ways.
It's exactly the same as Phrygia, but it's just got an A in front of a P.
No, he's just spelled it backwards.
No, I can confirm that, yes, it is the Antigonid Kingdom in 1.5.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool.
Until such time as Antigonus is no longer around.
Does it just go back to Phrygia if the Antigonids aren't in power?
I believe there are a couple of things it can become depending on what happens in the country.
Oh.
See, I love dynamic naming.
Yeah, same.
So you said if it's Antigonus that's around.
Well, the Antagonids.
I was going to say, what happens when Demetrius takes over? Does it then turn to Phrygia? Are you basically baiting us we changed the name, but you're going to have it for about 10 years?
I mean, now that you put it that way.
Back to normal. I don't know. I didn't say that.
Perhaps I should
call it Demetrius's rad pad.
The first one, the fourth one of Diadoche.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be evil. Don't do that. The most well-spoken troll England has produced behind Lambert. I'm not a troll.
There was this chap called Oliver Cromwell as well.
Oh, yeah, that's...
He wasn't a troll, he was a twat.
Right.
This podcast does not stand for Oliver Cromwell.
No. Even as an anti-monarchist, I don't stand for Cromwell. He knew what he was doing.
But he didn't call himself king. That's the important thing.
Yeah, he wanted to be the king without calling himself that.
And it's just the pure hypocrisy of the man that makes me despise him. It's we don't want a king. We hate the king. Let's get rid of the king. Now I'm in charge. I've got all the powers of the king with nothing that is not what he could do. I can do it all. I'm basically a king, but don't call me king. Because that would be that would make me a hypocrite. No.
And also my son will inherit the title of Lord Protector.
What a knob.
I mean, it's almost like a certain
that's like all those
we know quite well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of those Republican Italian patricians that we've talked about before, where it's we're a republic, but you better vote for my son or else. And then eventually just, I'm just going to appoint my son as the next Doge. That's how it's going to work. By the way, we're dukes now. Prefer the term duke, if you don't mind.
Monarchism.
Yeah, it's very similar to the word Doge.
Yeah, exactly.
Monarchism is just the natural extension of nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
Just take it to its furthest degree, and there you go.
I think it's a natural extension to republicanism, right? I mean, like, since all these republics turned into monarchies, it's the natural progression of things.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm. All the republics are going to turn into monarchies eventually.
At some point, yeah.
We're going to bring back the crown making industry, because that industry seems to have just died around the time that Napoleon came around.
That's just like something that I feel like when I start as a Republic and Imperator, that's usually just something I plan for that's going to happen eventually. It's like there's going to be a Julius Caesar moment. That's just kind of like part of a game of Imperator is, not that you can't prevent it.
I find it incredibly difficult to get a dictatorship government. Unless you're playing as Rome, and then you can... There's a guide where you can do it in about 5 years. But I tried doing it as Byzantine, and it was impossible.
It's a lovely challenge, though, to do.
You have to be a little bit, like, almost history blind. Like, we have the benefit of hindsight that, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't give all of my best troops to this one general who is ambitious and doesn't like me. But as somebody who likes to roleplay and likes to create problems for myself in grand strategy games, I always give my best armies to a popular general who is ambitious and doesn't like me. And
disloyal generals, it saves on micromanagement, right? You don't have to deal with his armies. They deal with themselves and walk around on their own.
I don't want to fight wars. Yeah, just let them do that.
I mean, loyal troops, they may increase their power base, but they got more discipline, and you don't have to pay for them. So, in fairness, everyone can be loyal. Just, generals do what they do.
Yeah, I do really like that trade-off in Imperator. That's, that there is some benefits of losing a lot of power to generals.
Well, and I mentioned on Twitter, and I doubt Peter will be able to talk about this because you guys haven't talked about the faction system in a dev diary yet. We do know that from the Menander overview that there's going to be changes to make the factions and republics less gamey and more historical, which I think we all like. But the idea that you have these like powerful, ambitious, influential generals who would be like a Caesar, and then they end up getting elected. And then like it's kind of like, okay, crisis over because he wanted to be in charge and now he's in charge. You don't really have, in the current version, in 1.4, those conservative power blocks calcifying against them and making sure that they cannot ever come to power legitimately. And that's something that I hope that we see in the future. But I understand you probably can't talk about it yet.
Not about everything, perhaps, but I will say that part of my sort of design direction for this feature, the Republic and faction rework, is that makes the characters feel a whole lot more important in that system than they currently are. So, yeah, we'll see.
Awesome.
When we cover that in one of the dev diaries.
Yeah, that's the dev diary I'm looking most forward to is the faction rework. So,
one thing I'm curious about is with the roadmap, it was the spring of religion, summer of culture, autumn of war. What made you choose those things, and in that order? Was there anything? Was it just okay? These are the things I want to change. We're going to do it in this order. I assume you've probably got a list of other things as well that could possibly have been seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
What made you choose these three?
There are always ideas, plenty of them. It's just about what priority they have. And to me, I think any of the features that we produce and add to the game are going to be heavily affected by things that affect the underlying simulation, things like culture and things like religion. So I think it's really important to get those out of the way with first, and then you can sort of build on this interlaced foundation below that.
Yeah. So they're basically a springboard to the other things we'll link into.
Absolutely. And it's like we've always had a lot of interconnectedness between features in Imperator compared to some of the other titles.
And I felt like War worked the best out of all of the major pillars, even in 1.0. So I guess it would make sense that, okay, that doesn't need as much attention right away as some of the other, aspects did.
It's going to be amazing.
I still think it's probably... probably the most fun war game, even as it is, of the major Paradox games.
I quite agree. I think the war game is very strong in Imperator, but I think the things that are being planned for it are going to make it something even better.
Yeah, it does. It does really excite me because it gets the cogs turning, and I'm thinking of all these history channels that I watch on YouTube, and watching how the Battle of Cannae happened, and blow by blow and time by time, like how it works. I was thinking, how could that be sort of emulated by a combat system that would work for the whole world in Imperator? And I'm just like, okay, but we could have this, and we could have this, and we could have this, and I like making suggestions and like theory crafting, like the future of the game. So yeah, it's got the cogs turning. I'm quite excited for the autumn.
And it's always good to hear these ideas, watch streams and so forth, read threads on the forum. They're often very inspiring.
Let's see. So we've got a couple questions in chat. Crystal Iron the Scott, is that it? Your name's all lowercase, so I think I say it different every time I say it. I think it's Crystal Iron the Scott. I got the Scott part at least.
Just call him Chris. Just call him Chris.
That works.
It's okay.
What is Arheo's favorite nation in IR? Do you have a favorite child?
Difficult one to answer. If I'm playing single player games, I tend to play Macedon. But if
same as me.
If I'm testing things, which obviously I do quite a lot, I usually tend to blow up Phrygia.
Okay. Every time a new patch comes out, I do a run as Macedon, just to, because I know the country so well now that I can say, okay, this is different here, quite easily. They're probably the nation I've played the most of.
It's the perfect mix between playing tall and playing wide, I think, at the beginning of the game. That said, a lot of the Greek city-states are particularly interesting, and if I'm role-playing, that's the kind of thing I like to do, just create a little plutocratic empire.
Yeah, I love...
Which nation's your self-insert in, then? That's the question.
Your vanity character.
Where am I? Well, I am where I was born, in Ibaracum.
Okay. I played as Atalrugia, and I found Meneth recently. He shows up as an advisor.
I will tell you this, though. Unlike most of the vanity characters, there's something special that happens if you make friends with me in the game.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, then. I'm doing when the podcast ends.
Make a stop over there,
Very nice. Or I could just load up the game in the background. We can do it all together. I know where some of the vanity characters are. I definitely haven't found all of them, though.
I think Johan's in Greece somewhere.
He's in Sparta.
Sparta, that's it. Okay. Yeah.
Kaiser Johann is in Byzantium.
Of course, yeah.
Rodrigue is in northern France. I forget what the name of the tribe is called, but before the game even came out, I'd found him and did a video on flogging him, which was great. That was great fun to make.
Wonderful.
Trintragular is one of the only ruling characters that's in the game at the start.
Is he a starting ruler?
Does he rule?
In the Nesiotic League, I think.
Oh. Really? Huh. Okay.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. Let's see. TM Toady is asking, will tribal government mechanics get any love alongside the changes coming to republics?
Not this time. No. I mean, you can only fit so many things in an update, and whilst I do love tribes and tribal mechanics, I'd rather give them the attention they deserve.
I can hear the distant horns of the big tribal update that will eventually be coming, and I will be very happy on that day.
So
I don't remember which
my big
patch
Tibet
it
update.
was.
I'm still waiting on my big Tibet update.
I don't remember which patch it was, but like all of a sudden the migratory tribes in Germany actually migrated, and that was like, I think I was playing in probably Macedon, let's be fair, and I just scrolled the map up a bit, and I was like, holy shit, the entirety of this region is now full of color instead of being all grey. The tribes have migrated. Bastarnia is north of the Caucasus Mountains. Like, what's going on? Like, it was
I saw the Vandals.
It was not something I'd seen in the patch notes.
Right, I saw the Vandals migrate into the Carpathian Basin in my most recent game, and I don't know if prior to 1.4, did the AI even use migrations, or is that fairly new?
That's a fairly new change. They're not necessarily very good at navigating, but they do manage to migrate in a very cohesive manner, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that was really cool to see. Yeah. So
I liked it quite a bit.
Valor
Although
games,
when I'm playing
new
my,
content for Imperator comes up in conversation. Loris, what about Tibet though?
Very one note. It's Tibet and sheep, and that's pretty much it.
Like, there's mountains in Tibet. I know mountains. If there's one thing I know.
Someday Tibet will get
someday formable Tibet. One day.
Yeah. Well, I think that we should probably be wrapping up fairly soon here, but if anyone in chat has any final questions you want to ask, I could say if it's something that hasn't been announced, probably won't be able to talk about it. But
as the game director, surely.
Game design, theory stuff. Yeah.
No, I mean, he has control over what gets said. Surely.
Oh no, because
it's a lot
the PR overlords will kill us all. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do know that you are
Troy Goodfellow will send snipers. Yeah.
Well, I love reading the dev diaries that you write. I despise reading the titles you have for them.
I think I've run out of European style date formats. I can get away with now. We'll be on to the Mayan calendar
so
next.
Look, it's better than the American date system, so go for it.
That was what the forum redesign was about. It was allowing them to add new date systems to headers. So, yeah.
The title is just going to be a GIF of a sundial or something. Oh god.
Let's see. Seanticraft, I saw that Imperator is leaving Games Pass. Was that a deliberate choice? I doubt you had anything to do with that, but
yes, that's not really something I can comment on.
Yeah, that's probably more the business end. We'll have Shams or someone on at some point to talk about the business side of Paradox. He's always fun to interview. He has his own podcast too, the Paradox podcast. So,
will there be future updates to the religious system, or is that now all in the past? Is that behind you now?
I'm not
will it be
out.
more tangible to have, say, Egypt maintain its Kemetic peoples? Can we embrace their religion like we'll be able to do with cultures?
I think what is likely is that we will find new ways of connecting it to new features, perhaps even in the sort of the region of small feature updates.
Yeah.
But I think as our whole system, it's something that I'm relatively happy with. But I'm not ruling out small changes and certainly balance tweaks and fixes.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I think that before we wrap up today, we might want to take a quick look at the most recent Civ that was announced for Humankind, which is another game we've been keeping up with. While you're pulling that up, Lambert, we had one more last minute question going in. Will migration be reworked to be more realistic?
Define realistic. There are some crazy migrations in history. I mean, look at Galatia.
One suggestion I've seen a few times that I really quite like is if a tribe is defeated and conquered by another tribe, instead of just being completely assimilated into the new nation, it would create these migration units, and they would go and try and find a new place to settle. That's a suggestion I've seen a few times, and that would be really cool.
Yeah, and I think if we come around to looking at tribes, then migration seems like a logical extension to that.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway.
Have you played the Bronze Age mod?
I have played the Bronze Age mod. It's very interesting.
I really needed to dive into that. I downloaded it, but I haven't actually started playing yet.
I love the way that they do civic advances. That part of the mod is amazing.
How does that work in that mod exactly?
Well, basically, you have the various parts of your government. So you've got your military part of your government, your civic part of your government. And when you go up in a tech level, you get a couple of points that you can spend, and you can spend them on the military aspect. I'm forgetting all the terms that they use in the mod. But then you can sort of like upgrade the military aspect of your government, which gives you various bonuses. And some of these aspects also, you need to get to a certain level before you can build certain buildings. So if you want to build, say, a sewer system, then you have to get to civic aspect 3 or something like that. It's just a really interesting way of doing like the advancement of your country alongside technology.
Really interesting tech systems are something I'm a fan of. To those of you listening to this in the future, wink.
Horrible tease.
I know. We got to look at the Franks for humankind. They're the third medieval civ to be announced, which someone in chat was mentioning, Valorgain was mentioning it's the Franks and not the French, which is, I'm assuming, because they're going to have France as a colonial power probably for the early modern age. So yeah, they're expansionist. They get really good cavalry, and they're good at writing things down, which are definitely things the Franks were good at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they interact with the others. You think we'll ever see Franks and Imperator, or is it just too early for them to be showing up?
I think it's pretty early. I mean, I would love to cover that era, but maybe a different time.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, presumably their ancestors were kicking around somewhere, but we don't really know who they originally came from. So I guess you could probably make a mod where it's like, okay, you're Frisia, and then you found a kingdom and you become the Franks or something. But
it's all about the gavel kind, isn't it? So one son got one part of the kingdom, and they decided, you know what, we're going to name ourselves after Frank, who was the son of the gavel kind. And so now we're the Franks, and you can be a different tribe over there. That's totally how it happened. It was all gavel kind's fault.
Dev Diary, McDev Diary Face, just follow me on Twitter and you'll know what I've been talking about as of tomorrow. Or if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, it's already up right now. Yeah. So I think that's going to do it. But before we head out for this week, other than play Imperator, Peter, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Play Imperator twice.
Okay.
Sold.
Imperator 2 just confirmed. NoCB podcast.
Yeah, it's official. Europa Universalis Rome 3, Imperator 2, March of the Eagles 4,
Frigid
remastered. Oh, it still hurts.
So,
it still hurts.
You've just heard that also Peter is confirming loot boxes are joining Imperator.
Well, we've already got with the artifact system, like you could open a loot box and, maybe it's the golden fleece or maybe it's just a rock.
Now you're giving me ideas.
Oh no. All right.
You wanted barbarians to be reworked. I mean, sacking places isn't quite the same if you're not sacking them for loot boxes.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can now blame me when they add loot boxes to Imperator. That's officially my fault. Lambert, what have you been up to lately, and where can people find your stuff?
I have been just plugging away at my YouTube channel, Lord Lambert on YouTube. Lots of Imperator content. Just wrapped up the Stellaris multiplayer game, which it went really well, but then we decided to put it on 25x strength, and that didn't go well. So don't recommend that if you're not like ridiculously good at the game. And then pretty soon there will be a Total War Warhammer 2 campaign.
Yeah,
that
Hero of the Paunch.
Yeah,
that update
Warden of
just
the Paunch is
came out,
coming out, so
Warden of the Paunch.
I think I might give that a go. And
we'll definitely talk about that next week for sure, right? Because oh my goodness,
yeah, once we've had more time to play it, I think we should definitely talk about it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Can't talk
Total
about
War
much
is
of it
definitely
just yet, but.
Yeah. Total War is definitely in the orbit of grand strategy. So yeah, that'll definitely be something we'll bring up. It'll give us an excuse to have Blondie on here.
Oh yeah,
yes, definitely, yeah.
And I just hit 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. So
congrats!
I'm quite happy with that as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic, brilliant.
For some reason, recently my channel kind of started going really well, and I got 1,000 subscribers in about 2 or 3 weeks. So quite happy with the way it's going so far. And yet, it seems like a lot of people are
completely
liking it
upstaging you by creating a human being. Like,
yeah, I mean,
kind of rude. Yeah, like she knew this was your 15,000 subscriber week. She could have waited a little bit longer.
In fairness, I created one first. So
there you go.
It's one more subscriber too. You know.
There you go. 15,001. There we go.
No, my son literally has a YouTube channel and he does subscribe to me. He's 4.
Nice.
He doesn't watch YouTube. He doesn't watch me on YouTube.
Well, yeah, you probably suck at like Fortnite or real games, so you know.
Yeah.
Oh no, he loves anything with trains in it.
Oh yeah, he
does love his
nice.
trains.
A child of taste.
That's valid.
Open TDD. That's what you need to get him into. My goodness.
Yeah.
Little game.
It'll only cost like $2,000 to get all the DLC.
Yeah, no, that's totally gonna happen immediately.
Yeah.
I like Brio trains, Brio Worlds. It's the best app ever. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's me, Lord Lambert on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Are Hornby train sets still a thing? I know this is a massive segue into trains.
Didn't they
this
get
is now a train
out?
podcast. Yeah.
I feel like they got bought out by another company.
That's a shame. If kids don't get to experience Hornby train sets, man, missing out.
My son just has a lot of Brio train sets now.
Other than reminiscing about trains, what have you been up to, Lars?
Mainly the trains thing, to be honest. I did a little bit. I've done a little bit of corporate work, but mostly been sat here thinking of trains for a week, to be honest.
Yeah.
You and my son did have a lot to talk about.
Well, yeah. So next
lockdown's taking its toll.
Next week we're gonna have
just going around the living room, just going choo choo. Like that's it.
Next week we're gonna have an actual train on the podcast to talk about trains, what it's like to be a train. Yeah.
Oh, don't make me sound mix that as well. Rose, you can't come back soon enough.
So, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm AsaTJ. That's ASATJ. If you're watching this live, be sure to look tomorrow. If you're watching it after it goes up on SoundCloud, look now, because I have a very big feature coming out that is extremely relevant to the audience of this podcast. And I can't wait to talk about it. That'll be going up on the 14th of May, which is Thursday. So, either it's tomorrow or it's already out, depending on when you're listening to this. I am also going to be probably next week starting up streaming on Twitch again. So follow my Twitter for that information. The big one, they just announced E4 Emperor, the release date. We had that earlier in the show. Definitely be doing some of that. In the meantime, might do some Imperator. So, and then some other smaller single-player non-strategy games that I haven't gotten around to, like maybe some of the more recent Assassin's Creeds and the Resident Evil remakes are also on the docket if you're into that kind of stuff at all. So thank you, Peter, so much for being on the show. As always, welcome back anytime. Talk about Imperator. And for Lambert and for Father Loris, this is TJ signing off.
See you later.
Bye.